Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right, good. Sorry, we had to start late. I have problem. Let me take the volume off of one. That's better. All right. All right, thanks everybody for joining. Sorry, we started a little bit late. I had some computer issues, but I'm glad we got it, and I think we're also live on Facebook now. So at this point, I want to welcome Senator Brenda Gilmore to just say some opening remarks.
Thank you. Thank you. And I want to say good afternoon to everybody. I am Brenda Gilmore, your state senator, and it's an honor to be there to be your state senator, and it's an honor also to serve on this committee. So I think Council Lady Zulfat is going to ask everybody to mute themselves. So if you would mute yourself so we wouldn't hear background noises, we would appreciate that until you get ready to speak.
Okay, I'll talk to you when it's over. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye. Can you hear me? Council Lady, can you unmute me? Can you hear me now? Yes. I was saying that on behalf of the primary sponsor, Councilwoman Zulfat Suara, Minority Caucus Chair, and the members led by Councilwoman Sharon Hurt, and the committee of volunteers, which I have the honor to serve with Council Lady Zulfat. We want to welcome you to this second community meeting as we honor in a very regal way Representative John Lewis by naming the street the Representative John Lewis Way. You know by now that he began his long time crusade for civil rights and civil justice in Nashville when he was a student at American Baptist College and at Fisk University. And he was a leader in the historic lunch counter. And Nashville was one of the first cities in the South to integrate the lunch counties. So we're very proud of the work that Representative John Lewis has done, not only in Nashville, but in this whole country. And so we want to thank you for joining us. There are still many of the original Freedom Riders and Nashville student civil rights movement citizens still live in Nashville. And one of them is joining us tonight, Mrs. Etta Simpson Ray. I saw her on the participants, and I wanted to honor her by lifting her name and thanking her for the sacrifices that they made back in the 1960s. With that, we plan to leave plenty of time for you to ask any questions you'd like to ask or express any concerns that you would like to. But again, we're glad to have you with us. I know that there's some elected officials on, and I know that Council Lady Zulfat will recognize those at the appropriate time. With that, I will turn it back over to Council Lady Zulfat.
Thank you, Senator. Thanks for this remark. I see that Councilmember O'Connor is on the line. If he wants to say something, I've asked him to unmute.
Thank you, Councilmember Suara, and thank you also to the members of the Minority Caucus and the committee that is working on this project. I think this is, with this second community meeting, we are doing, going through the important work of taking a leadership-driven approach and matching it up with a community-based approach. And I'm looking forward to hearing feedback from everybody on the call this evening about the proposal.
Thank you. At this point, I want to just do like an update. I don't think Greg Bailey is on the call. But I have Sam, if Sam will just, since last Thursday, we did our first meeting last Thursday. And since then, there's been just some few updates, including what is happening at council this past Tuesday in terms of the amendment to the original ordinance. And so, but I want Sam to chime in. Greg is supposed to let us know where we are on the petition, but I think Greg is out of town. And so, but Sam can give us a short update, and then I can talk about where the ordinance is, and then we can go into question and answers and comments. Thank you.
Great, and thank you, Council Lady. I appreciate that. So, yeah, just a brief update. Obviously, there was on the first call that we had last week, there was a lot of some concerns, I think, expressed from the neighbors in the Germantown, Salemtown area about the John Lewis Way extending through that neighborhood. And Council Lady Suara and I went to the historic Germantown Neighborhood Association meeting on Monday evening to get further additional feedback. I think our thoughts going into that meeting, I think for speaking on behalf of the committee who got together prior to that meeting, was that we really wanted to hear from the constituents. We wanted to, allow for these community meetings to play out. And then as is sort of appropriate, if we wanted to amend certain sections of the Fifth Avenue out, that we would do that on second reading when that typically takes place in the council process. I think, though, given that our desire that this is, really going to be a celebration of John Lewis's legacy, and that what we heard from the neighborhood association was, a real divide amongst a lot of the members of the community as to whether or not they wanted that particular stretch of Fifth to be renamed. And so really to kind of clear that up, Council Lady Suara went ahead and pulled the legislation off of the first reading agenda, amended it, got unanimous support for amending it, and now the legislation reads that it will be Representative John Lewis Way on the north side, stopping at Jefferson all the way down to the cemetery on the south side. And our hope is that clears up any divide that would have occurred in the Germantown, Salemtown neighborhoods, and that is where we intend for this to remain. And it is sort of the unanimous, I think, will of the committee on which I serve, and certainly Councilor Lady Suara, who leads this effort, that is the direction that we will be moving forward, and want to ensure that this is a real celebration of Representative Lewis's legacy, rather than any sort of a divisive process. So with that, I'll pass it back over to you, Council Lady. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. And like Sam said, yes, we did pass the amendment, and it is now we're stopping at Jefferson, and so that is the will of the Germantown board. And so what we want to do today, there's a couple of questions that I received over the weekend and up till Monday that I have some answers to. That I'll be glad to share. But I felt like one of the feedback that I heard from the last meeting is that we should, and I'm sorry if it looks as if I'm looking up, I'm doing both my phone and my computer. Technology today is not aligning. I'm still in the office, and so I'm trying to make it work. But basically, we want to make sure that we allow folks to be able to give their comments, and hopefully, even if people have idea on how this celebration should look like. I know last week, Professor Mikizek said that she will be willing to do a tour along Fifth Avenue corridor. There's the talk of a march. People have talked about having something along the way that will be like a civil rights trail along Fifth Avenue, which because there's so many places that touches Representative Lewis along that road. So those are some of the things that we're talking about. But I do want to honor that feedback and make sure that we open it up for people to voice their comments, their opinion, their question. If at the end of the day, or if you have a question that I've already have answers to, we reply to it. If we don't, we can still touch upon it if need be. but we just want you to be where you are able to say something if you have something to say. If you do wish to say something, please raise your WebEx and that is how I will be able to see you and to be able to call on you to speak. Everybody is on mute, but based on how I see your hands, it's how I'll be able to call that. So if you have a question, comment, you want to say something, please raise your WebEx hand. If I don't see any hand, I'm going to just go on with the questions that we have already and try to answer that as much as possible. And so again, I'm looking to see if there's anything or anyone raising hand. I don't see any right now. And I don't see any in the chat. So let me, based on that, just go on some of the concerns or questions that I receive or that we receive as a committee over the last couple of days, and just to see if that addresses what some of you may be thinking. The first question that we had was about, some of you are just learning about the change, and a lot of you were worried about how come you're just knowing about it. Based on what I explained at the Germantown meeting, the way the process works is always that you file in council, you have to file the bill to be able to put it where you can discuss it. We don't typically discuss bills on first reading. We actually do it on second reading. And the committee was very intentional in making sure that all these Zoom meetings happened between the first and second reading, so that we do all of this before the second reading happens. And so that was how that went down. Also, some of you did let us know that you did not know about the first meeting, because even though the letter went out September 3rd, you did not get it until the day of the meeting or after. That's the postal office sometimes, or I think there was a public holiday also in there. But the committee decided to do 3 meetings, and we also decided to do them at different times because we know that people may not be able to make the first one. And so we want to give allowance for them to come to the second one or the third one. And so even if you missed the first one or if you got the letter late, we wanted to make sure that you have other opportunities, hence the reason for the second and the third meeting. There's a question about why Fifth Avenue. We've said this a whole lot. There's so many ties to John Lewis along Fifth Avenue corridor, which includes the sit-ins, includes Jefferson Street, includes the Ryman Auditorium, the Nashville City Cemetery, and so many other markers along the way that actually has ties to the civil rights movement and Representative John Lewis. Some have asked us, why not Jefferson Street? It is the wish of the Minority Caucus, again, to look at the ties on Fifth Avenue and the trail. And also because sometimes, when we honor African-American legend, we try to make sure that it's only in the African-American corridor. We believe that the work that Representative John Lewis did is not something that should just be celebrated by African-Americans, but by all of us. And the committee viewed this as a unity event. Hopefully that will bring all the city together and let us celebrate this legend. But more than anything, bring us all together as a city. So that's why Fifth Avenue, the connection and the proximity and the fact that residents, visitors, everybody will be able to see that. There's also a question about address changes. So what we find out so far is that if you do live on Fifth Avenue, you do not have to contact the post office to change your address. This will be done for everybody at the same time. You do have to talk to your bank and the people that you do businesses with to make sure that your address is changed. But you have 1 year to complete that. So it's not something you need to worry about immediately, but you have a whole year to complete that transition. For those that have businesses, I'm a CPA. I had a CPA firm. I've had one since 2004. I've also moved. I moved from Nashville to Bolivar, then from Bolivar back to Nashville. And each time I moved my practice with me. And in Nashville, I had a condo, then I have a house. So I've had to change my addresses. But you do that with the Secretary of State. When you file your annual report, which is due from January to April, you can also, and for your IRS return, you can do it on your tax return. There is a change of address form, but you can also do it on your tax return. And so, but all of that can be completed within a year. Another question that we've had, and I know I may be going fast, is about what documents do you have to change? The only official document that you need to change is your driver's license. You do not have to change your passport. You don't need to change your title. You don't need to change your deed. None of that needs changing, only your driver's license. You could do that online. without any cost, or you can also, if you want an actual printed copy, then that will cost you $15. Um, I'm trying to see. Oh, the election is another good question that came out of these conversations, which I thought also help us as a committee. A lot of people are worried about what impact will this have on the November 3rd election, and if people will not be able to vote. Now, with the legend of John Lewis, we don't want to do anything that will affect election. Now, to be able to vote in an election, you have 30 days to be able to register. You have to register before 30 days. So for this election, you have to register by October 5th. This bill would not have passed by then. And so we're looking at November 17th. For the bill to actually, if everything progresses now, it will be in planning commission by October 22nd, but everything will happen after the election. But as a way to make sure that we're not even touching anything remotely close to election, and we're not creating anxiety for the people, and also to also make the transition a lot easier for businesses, we at the second reading on October 6th, I will be changing the effective date of the ordinance to January 1. And so the effective date will be January 1st, 2021, and people will have until January 1st, 2022 to make any changes that they want to make. Someone asked if this impact historical zoning. We have Tim Walker, who is part of the historical commission on our committee, and from everything that we've heard, this has nothing to do with the historical commission or the historical outlay or the zoning. Someone asked about the zoning. It has nothing to do with the zoning. The last question that I have was, someone has if there's a way to reduce the fees for people, or if we can waive the fees. Like I said, the only fees that I know of is the driver's license, the $15, and that is a state fee. So we're not in a position to waive that, and that is the only cost that is associated as far as we know. Now, last week we did say that because you have a year to change your address, especially for those of you that have your businesses, you do have a year to use up your stationery and to be able to print new ones. One of the people that call in, Ashley, also made a good point that, you know, when you print those new stationaries, they're considered your business cost, and you can actually write it off on your taxes. And I think it's good for people to know that. And so we want to make sure we make it the process streamlined, easy for everyone. And hopefully now we can get into where do we go from here? There's a lot of conversation about some other things that we needed to do. People wants to do things in the park. People wants to do some art. All of that is good and well, and this should not be the only thing. There's a talk about a town hall conversation about what all this means. What does it really mean to our racial relationship? What does it mean to us as Nashville? What does it mean to, in a lot of ways? I think that's something that we want to do. For us as a committee, our goal is that this is something that unites us. Our goal also is that the renaming is just one of the first steps, but we also hope that it is a reminder to all of us, whether we are residents driving down Jefferson to Fifth, going to Broadway, whether the tourists coming to town, people at the Predators games, at the Sounds game, people performing at the Ryman Auditorium. We're looking at this and thinking that Representative John Lewis has his start in Nashville, touched us all in so many ways, and that we have an obligation to continue his legacy, to continue to bring our people together, and to continue to work for the betterment of the society that we all live in. And so those are the questions. And so at this point, I'm opening it up. If everybody's question is being answered, if all you want to do is say, yay, I'm in support, that's fine. You want to have something to say, I'll open it up. If you will raise your WebEx hand, there's a little hand icon on the participants in the Zoom, and let us know if you have any question. I'm also looking at Facebook to see if there's any question there. I'm looking at the chat. And so there is a question in the chat that says, "All I have to switch to listen anyway." Okay, that's Councilman O'Connor. We understand, you know, We have family duties, kid duties, and so yes, it's okay to switch to listen only. And the question was, what consideration went into passing the amendment if this is only the second meeting and hearing? Thank you. That is a good question. We want from the start, we initially Germantown, Salemtown was not considered. We wanted to stop at Jefferson because of the link to Fisk University in Jefferson. That was the original plan. We decided to go into Germantown, Salemtown because of two things. One, we did not want to leave Germantown, Salemtown out. Two, because of EMS consideration and their disapproval. Well, they don't like us naming streets without going the other way. But once we did that, we heard back from people in Germantown, Salemtown, in a number of ways. We received emails, we received calls. On the last call, there was a gentleman, Derek, who volunteered to go and knock doors in Germantown, Salemtown, and talk to people. And we did do that. Now, he was able to talk to 70 people. Of the 70 that he spoke to, only about 13% of that 70 was in favor. There are a lot of residents, more than 70 on Fifth Avenue in Germantown, yes. And we had the plan that we were going to go back and do like a community-based scouting and all of that. But the board also heard from the neighborhood, and the board actually took an official vote on Monday. And we got a letter from the board stating that the board decided to vote, and based on what they've heard, in addition to the 70 people that Derek spoke to, the board decided that they want us to amend at this time. I want to clarify to everybody that this is supposed to be something that brings us together, and I want us to look at it as such. The fact that Germantown, Salemtown is not in it at this time, I think the way that I would look at it is that we're tabling that part for now. And we would allow Germantown, Salemtown people to decide, and based on the results of the board, that's the decision right now. But they have other ways that they want to honor Representative John Lewis. They have some other ideas, and they might decide to do some other things later. But hopefully with Councilmember O'Connor and the residents, there can be a larger conversation somewhere down the road that will do that. That would enable that conversation to take place. But the committee, I decided, with the support of the minority caucus and the committee, that at this point, we want to leave Germantown, Salemtown out of it for now, and let the process continue and not have to go through the dissension. So that was why. And since we made that decision, I already had the amendment prepared, and it was supposed to go on the second reading. But once the board took a stand, and if as a council member, I have to listen to my constituents, and the board represents those constituents as far as I'm concerned. And so that was why we went ahead and did it. Somebody called and asked me and said that the Salemtown board take a position. No, they did not. They did not. In fairness, they did not. But the truth is that you cannot get to Salemtown without going to Germantown. And so it's an automatic that way. And also, even if we can, I think that stopping at Jefferson Street makes sense for EMS. I don't want to do anything that will confuse our EMS, and we don't want to do things in between cities and in the middle of town, where we're in the middle of Germantown or Salemtown, then deciding to change this way or that way. I think because Jefferson Street is a major street and a major road, it makes sense for it to be the demarcation. Also, in terms of the committee, we agree that Jefferson Street serves as a good bookend because there's a connection at Jefferson Street to Representative John Lewis, and there's a connection at the Nashville City Cemetery. So those were the reasons that the amendment was done and forced, so that we can all come together and start talking about how do we want to celebrate his legacy at this point. I want to see if there's any other chat. There's nothing else in the chat room, but I see some hands raised. So I'm going to have Miss Nancy. If you would, let me unmute you. Okay. Are you on mute, Nancy?
Okay,
There
now
you are.
it was a fight. I think what I just heard you say was there's still an opening for Germantown and Salemtown further down the road to come to its senses and ask to be included as part of Representative John Lewis Way, and that gives me some hope. I was very disappointed this morning to read that you had made the decision you made. I understand why you made it. I'd just like to say the board does not represent me and does not represent many of my neighbors who are very upset about this decision to not be included. I feel left out. I was very excited about the idea, and I just hope I hope that we'll see some change in the future, near future.
Thank you, Ms. Nancy. The truth is that there is, especially when you have both sides, there really would not be a good place to stop at the end of the day, because no matter what position, some group would not like that position. And I think for me, it's better for the people in Germantown, Salemtown to have that conversation. And to have, I know COVID is prohibiting us from actually seeing each other, seeing face to face and having a good dialogue. But based on the people that we talked to, based on the people that that Derek talked to, based on the data that he shared, there were 70 people that he talked to. Based on the 70 that he talked to, majority of them said no. Based on what the board heard, based on their position, that's what they heard. And so now I know 70 does not represent everybody. I know 70 is only 30%. There's still 70% that was not polled. And I wish we had a higher number. But the truth is that trying to figure out the best way to get to a higher number. We talk about next door, we talk about coming down there. There's a whole lot of things that we talk about. And the thing is, some people are not on next door. And so for me, I think letting Germantown, Salemtown decide is the best thing, and tabling it for now for Germantown, Salemtown is what we decide as a caucus and as a committee to keep us moving forward. It's not off the table. You all could decide on something later, honorary way to honor him, some other things to do in Germantown. You could come back a year or two and say, we want a street. I'll let you all work that out. And I think at this point, I'll let you work it out with Councilmember O'Connor, who is your district council member. I'll be more than happy to be part of that conversation. I think there's a lot of conversation to be had, but I just felt like at this point, this is what the committee decided. So, and this is what the board decided, and the committee agrees. So, Senator Gilmore.
I wanted to let you know that Mrs. Burdell Campbell has her hand up and would like to be recognized.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Sorry, I did not see a hand raised. Ms. Burdell, can you unmute? Can you unmute yourself, ma'am?
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. We can hear you.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Yes, I was, and I heard Nancy Kolowick, and I am not one of the ones who voted against it. I do understand some of the reasons that are being stated in the historic neighborhood having nothing to do with, oh, it's bothered to change my address. There are other things, but, and I had a conversation with Council Lady Zulfat, and I could see if she proceeded and could get some momentum with the total project and get the John Lewis Way started by taking it from Jefferson and taking it south and make progress while some things are being worked out. Otherwise, could be progress for all of us. But out beyond that, there are a number of people in Germantown who expressed the idea that John Lewis's work and his influence was so far reaching that if we could participate in a broader plan that can come along with this or attendant to it, whatever, this, we have to find somebody, a good architect to plan this and have it visit the meeting. Then it could visit across the river where he was a student up at the seminary, and a lot of other things that I've heard about, I had no idea about, that we could put together a list of places that goes beyond the one street. And I certainly am pushing for that and voting for it, but I did not vote against it. I was not one of those. In fact, what I said was, there are too many options not discussed for me to cast a vote. And I was one of the people who withheld my vote at that time. But I'm having wonderful, good time getting back to my Nigerian experiences. And I find that Zulfat grew up in Ibadan, and that's the part of Nigeria I know best. So we're going to have some Nigeria good times talking in my garden as soon as possible. But I give my blessings to any progress that can be made starting now, rather than holding up everything, to iron out some details that it will take some ironing out. But I'm glad to be here and to see my good friend. There's Brenda Gilmore, and I saw Sharon Hurt and Will Hart and a number of other people along the way. And I know them all well, and I've helped them all get elected every time they've run. So I'm 93, and some days it's like, how can I keep up? But I keep trying.
Yes,
So,
ma'am. You give us all young ones a run for our money. And I look forward to that conversation and hopefully some Nigerian food together. And that's what we want this to be, a celebration, bringing us all together. And so I heard that there was going to be a memorial services that was being planned by American Baptist and Fisk and another. I think there was a church. And the idea was that if we completed this renaming before that take place, it will all be done. The renaming, unveiling will be done on the same weekend. And so, but I think they're looking to November as well. But I think if we've made enough progress, we can, I mean, there's a lot that can be done. It doesn't have to be just this year. It doesn't have to be one time. Like I said, there will be a plan as part of the celebration to do a march from Jefferson Street up to the Nashville City Cemetery. Some people said march the entire street. Some people said have a group start at the cemetery, have a group start at Jefferson, and we all meet up at the at Woolworth, and then have some celebration there. There's a discussion to also have like markers, maybe not necessarily historical markers, but some kind of markers along the way that delineates their route. I've also told you about Professor McKissick ready for a tour for people when they come to town to be able to talk about what happened at those different stops. There's talk from someone who is working with people in the arts community. She's doing a statue or something. Or I don't know what it's one of my colleagues that is working on something. So she's going to let us know as part of it. And so what I'm hoping we will get to is all of us using our connections and everything that we have to start thinking about, once we pass this, what does that look like? How would we want to celebrate? And like Miss Campbell said, some Germantown, Salem Town should be a part of the celebration. We should all march together, and it's for our city. It's for our city. The congressman got his start here. And I think that it's about time we celebrate that. And I think it's about time the entire country knows that we as Nigerians value the representative and all the work that he did, not just here, but across the country. So I'm looking for the chat. I don't see much conversation or questions. So if there are no questions, if you have any thoughts, suggestion, you just want to yell out, I'm in support. What do you think about the march? What do you think about the trail? What else do you think we can do as part of the unveiling? I'm going to lean on my good friend and committee member Sam Reed to see what the Ryman wants to do. I think the Predators are on faith, the Sounds are on faith, and so we need to get everybody along that route and then that city ready to celebrate. And so that's the plan. So if you have any idea, this is an opportunity to share it with us so that we can keep progressing and working hard to make it happen. How? Nobody wants to say anything?
No, we
Okay,
thank
are we
you.
gonna have a
thank-
band? Are we gonna, come on now, people? Okay, if you don't have any question about the naming, it means that we've all agreed on the naming. Now let's talk about how we want to celebrate.
Zulfat,
Yes, ma'am.
Kathleen Barry here has had her hand up. I haven't
Oh,
seen
I'm sorry.
it. She lives across the street from me.
Yes, ma'am. I do not. And I'm sorry, I don't see all the videos. So I'm busy looking for the little hand. So Kathleen, you're on mute. Let me
So
see
I
if
have,
can
I
work.
have one, I have one fun idea to
Yes, ma'am.
celebrate. And
Yes,
that
ma'am.
is, this book just came in the mail, and it's the John Meacham Pulitzer Prize winning book on the life of John Lewis. He lives right in Nashville. John Meacham, award-winning author, and maybe we could get him to do something on this book in conjunction.
Oh, nice idea. Would you make that connection? Well, maybe I should start saying that.
Thank you, Kat. Thank you.
Thank you, Kat. I put that down, John Meacham book. All right, I have that. Anyone else have any thought? Okay, Ms. Roslyn, let me unmute you. All right, if you will unmute yourself, Ms. Rosalind, there you go.
Hi, this is Bridget. I'm filling in for Rosalind. Just an idea that I just thought about, and it's just thinking outside the box here. What about a mural for John Lewis?
Good idea.
Not sure where. Like I said, I'm just thinking outside the box. So that's an idea.
Yes. Let me put that down. And one of the things that we're also fortunate about is that the Fifth Avenue and Arts is also on Fifth. And so getting the arts community to be able to do something with the celebration, I think will be awesome. And so a mural sounds like a good idea. I'm not artsy, I don't know much about it, but I know there's a lot of people on this call that can help us get to that. I think that's a wonderful idea. Thank you. I'm writing them down, please. So I'm writing all the ideas now. All right. Any of the committee members have something to say? Oh, I see Council Member Quante Toombs. Let me have council people that are on if they want to say something. Council Member Toombs, will you unmute?
Hi, Councilmember Suara. I don't have anything to say. I'm just listening in and seeing what the community, what input the community has on the renaming of Fifth Avenue to John Lewis Way. So happy to participate and hear the conversation.
Thank you. Ms. Willard, the assessor of property. She's also a member of our committee, and she did a lot of work. Our office did a lot of work actually getting.
I can't hear anyone. Can you hear me? Okay, I can't hear anybody. Well, as long as you can hear me, I guess that's okay. But I can't hear everyone. But nonetheless, it's been an honor to be on this committee. I know in our last meeting with the community, someone had mentioned about renaming a park. I think there's a park over in that area. You may want to consider doing that now so it can coincide with the naming of the John Lewis Way. That's going to meet up at Jefferson Street. So there is a park in that area. So maybe the council member get with parks to see about naming the park. I don't know. I know it has a baseball field and all this other stuff, but it's right there in that area. So that's something you can do in order for it to coincide with celebration. And I just want to say, I was telling the council member that was another reason why it was the relevance of going into the neighborhoods. Of course, I know we're stopping at Jefferson Street, the reason for that is because John Lewis was more than just about desegregating lunch counters. He was about desegregating neighborhoods too as well. And he did a lot of work with the Fair Housing Act and what have you. So neighborhood was an appropriate start for the name. But we're at the Jefferson Street. I'm supporting the council member on that. And so I was just going to throw out about that park. And since the community had thought about doing something for a park, why don't you pursue that right now and going before the Parks Committee and maybe renaming that park? I've enjoyed being on this committee. It's been great. Thank you all. And a shout out to Bill Taylor, my IT guy. He's awesome.
All right, thank you, thank you. I'm looking, does anyone else want to say? I'm trying to look at the elected officials so that, Trustee Gilmore, I'm just putting you all on the spot since no one else is raising their hand. So, Ms. Erica Gilmore.
Thank you, Zulfat. I appreciate you. I think it's a great idea. You know, I lived over and I actually represented the 19th district for many years. I think it's a wonderful idea to name it John Lewis. Just kind of thinking about the evolution of the community and just the peoples, and hopefully we can get to a place where the whole street is named. I never really liked doing half of streets, you know, you want to show unity on all sides, but I think, you know, it is always, you try to go or support what the council members want, but I do think it's a good start. But I do hope, just as a former representative of the 19th district for 8 years, that whatever the whole area throughout can be named for many reasons. One, I think it represents something symbolically, and two, it is an emergency management issue as well. So I do hope that we can get to the final place that we need to get to show that we really are unified, and just that whole spirit of what he stood for, and that Nashville is really on the forefront of being a progressive city. And so thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak as someone who represented that area for many years and still live over there. So it seems like if this happens, it would be on my side of the street where I have my house, where John Lewis would be, and then it wouldn't be on the other side. But I still think it's a great start. So thank you so much. I appreciate you and all of your hard work and the committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Miss Nancy, your hand is still up.
I just had my hand up in place of Catsberry. She said she has another idea.
Thank you, Councilwoman. I have one more idea, and that is thinking of the young people in the city and all the school kids, especially the ones struggling through Zoom right now. That would be to have them study the life of John Lewis, appropriate to their grade, and draw a picture of something that he has inspired them through their study. And that could be an online digital slideshow where you could go to a site, celebration site, but then maybe those pictures could also be at the Frist in that hallway or somewhere where more of the community could see them in person, and they could see their artwork on display collectively. So that's just another idea, and that may be thinking way too far, but I always think like a kid, so I love to.
I love it too. It's a way to include the kids, and that's a great idea. Because if we're talking about citywide or everybody, the kids are part of the community, and a drawing is always a good one. So, yes, ma'am. Any other thoughts? I'm looking at some of the comments. Good idea, we have to support you. On my day to celebrate Park, be Morgan Park. All right, there are no more questions. I don't see any on Zoom and I don't see any on Facebook. Well, we have one more meeting next week. If you think about any other idea, feel free to email it to us. You can
All right. Okay.
Sorry, everyone. Trying to do 2 different or 3 different computers today. So, but can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So you can email it to johnlewisway@gmail.com, or you can email it to me at zulfat.suara at nashville.gov. I will put it in the chat. But there will be another Zoom call next Thursday. That one will be at 6 p.m. And I promise you all I will fix all my computer issues before then. And so if you have any other idea or anybody that has any idea, we want to make sure that we get all of that in and we don't stop that. We'll do that one more time. And someone said that Ms. Campbell has her hands up. All right, Ms. Campbell. Would you unmute, ma'am?
Yes. I wanted to, it was follow up to Kathleen Berry, because the neighborhood we have an arts committee that's active, and we've already had a conversation about these, it's still in conversation form of ideas that we have and the things that she's saying. So we're sort of set to go with these ideas and get further, but they're still in formative period. But we appreciate what you're doing. Thank you so much.
Okay, and so doing something with the kids is what Germantown was going to do?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Then we'll let you do it.
And the murals we have in the neighborhood, our committee is responsible for some of those. So there's a number of things that the arts committee sees we could be doing that is a part of.
Yeah, and I think that we could still do it citywide and Germantown participate as well. I think that would be fine. The idea of somebody doing what was it? I think Councilmember Stars had some idea with the arts community that she talked to me about a long time ago. And so she's working on that. And the idea was, I'm doing this street, you work on that, we'll all come back. And so the mural is not completely just Germantown, but I like the idea of the schools. And I think if Germantown is doing it, since we're talking schools, why can't we have the entire city do it as well? And so I think it's good that, like you said, this will be a way for the residents of Germantown and the whole city to actually celebrate together, because this is for all of us, regardless of where the streets are, and we can all do it as Nashville, as a project together, if that's okay with everyone. Again, I'm writing it down, and all sounds like a good idea. That why not? And the committee doesn't have to be in charge of all of it too, but I will present all of this to the committee, and thank you. Senator Gilmore, your hand is up. Is it from before? Okay, I'm guessing it is. We only have 5 more minutes. You got something to say, let me know now. Or you have to wait till next week. Yes, ma'am, Ms. Teresa, I see you. Please unmute.
Yeah, I did. I just wanted to say thank you for all your work on this project. And it has been so interesting, and it has made me get more involved in the neighborhood again. And I just wanted to thank you for that.
You're welcome. All right. Since we don't have any more comments, let me thank all of you for being here. Thank you for the interest in the project. Thank you for your support. I'm glad that at least based on today's call, it looks as if we've been able to resolve our way going forward and coming up with ideas on some of the things that we would like to see. I will, for those of you that signed up for the Zoom call, if I will send you an email, and if you want to be included in my newsletter, let me know so that when I do send an update about things happening, you will be able to get that as well. But even if you don't get my all updates, you will be getting updates about this project. And as we come together to continue to discuss how do we want to celebrate, what do we want to do, I hope that everyone will join in and help us make this happen. I think this is a good thing for our city. I think at a time like this, we need it more than anything. The man did a lot with his life, and I think that this is the least, that we can do. I know some people said straight is not right, let's do something else, but this is a good start. This is a good start. You start with this, and then if we want to do something else, why not? But at least this gives us something that we can all rally behind and do together. So I want to thank you all again for joining the call. If there's anyone else that did not know about it, I want to come next week. It will be next week at 6 o'clock. If you want to come back, feel free to. You think about any new ideas, we'll be glad to have them. If it pops to you, just email it. If you can wait till next week, that's fine as well. And so thank you also very much. And I hope everyone has, yes, ma'am. Somebody said something.
In the meeting?
Did you join in and listen?
No, he hasn't, but I'm about to drop off
I love it.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
You have a nice evening. Bye.
Goodbye.